to speak. It's a big, long lineup tonight, you see. Okay, let's call the meeting to order. I'll call the public hearing to order. I have an opening statement to read. At this hearing, the public and anyone who believes their interest in property is affected by the agenda items may speak or present written submissions. Everyone will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard at the hearing, and no one should feel discouraged from making their views known. Those of you who wish to speak or register with the city clerk should, after being recognized by the chair, begin by clearly stating your name and your address. If you have provided a written submission, please make this known at the beginning. All written submissions will be retained by the clerk and form part of the record. Each speaker may address the hearing a maximum of twice. The length of your first presentation will be limited to a maximum of 10 minutes. Your comments must be relevant and not obstruct the hearing. Any additional presentation, which must be on new information, will be limited to 3 minutes. Members of council may ask questions of you following your presentation. However, the function of council members during a public hearing is to listen to the views of the public, not to debate the merits of matters with citizens. Any debate by members of council will occur at the subsequent vote. So the order of each item will normally be the city clerk will briefly describe the matter. The applicant or their agent will be invited to make a brief presentation of up to 10 minutes. The city clerk will identify any written submissions. Then we'll have oral submissions from the public and further written submissions, if any, to be received. And finally, the hearing is closed. Please note that delegations must present in a respectful manner. City Council is committed to ensuring a safe and respectful environment and supports the rights of the community to bring comments forward. So please observe these rules, and if you have any concerns with the manner in which the hearing is conducted, direct your comments to the chair. So, Mr. Clerk, first item.
Thank you, Your Worship. First item is Richmond Official Community Plan Bylaw 9000 and 7100, Amendment Bylaw 10587, and Richmond Zoning Bylaw 8500, Amendment Bylaw 10588, RZ 22023116. The location is 9511 Granville Avenue. The applicant is Wayne Fougere, and the purpose of the OCP designation amendment is to amend Schedule 1 of Richmond OCP 9000, Bylaw 9000, City of Richmond 2041 OCP land use map by redesignating the northern portion of 9511 Granville Avenue from neighborhood residential to school, and to amend the Schedule 2.10 McLennan North Sub-Area Plan of Richmond Official Community Plan Bylaw 7100 by redesignating the northern portion of 9511 Granville Avenue from residential area 3 to school. And the purpose of the zoning amendment is to rezone the subject property from small-scale multi-unit housing RSM/XL to the townhousing ZT105, North McLennan City Center Zone, and the school and institutional use SI Zone on the northern portion of the site to permit the development of 12 townhouse units. First reading was September 9th, 2024.
Okay, is the applicant here? You're the applicant? Are you wanting to make a presentation or just await questions?
I'd just like to wait for questions.
Okay, any written submissions?
None, Your Worship.
Anybody wanting to speak to us on this item? Okay, come forward, please. Okay, please introduce yourself and tell us your thoughts.
Hello, Mayor, Council. My name is Sam Young, and I live at Unit 16, 9533 Granville Avenue, right next to the site that is being considered for rezoning.
Please pull in the mic right close.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is this better? Although I'm part of the Strata Council of 9533 Granville, I'm reaching out as an individual this evening, as most of our Strata's concerns have already been submitted to the city as summarized in the staff report. Personally, I'm not opposed to the rezoning proposal and the proposed increase in density. However, I do think it is important for city staff and council to take a closer look at the use of legal easements that allow shared driveways between neighboring properties. When I first moved into the townhouse complex, I was unaware of an easement agreement signed with the city that allows our main vehicle access to be shared with the adjacent site. So it was quite a surprise to me and all my neighbors when the developer informed us about this obligation. This situation forced us to negotiate terms with the developer to protect our interests regarding potential driveway damage during construction, access for construction vehicles, and other concerns. While the developer, Western, has been reasonable and we are hopeful that we will have a signed agreement soon. It still meant that we had to get legal help, and the whole process added stress for everyone involved. Due to this experience, I urge you to reconsider how these easement agreements are handled in the future. And as you move forward with the rezoning and development permitting process, I hope you also keep our townhouse complex's concerns and interests in mind. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, I can answer in part. This comes up from time to time about these cross-access agreements, the easements. And they are on title, so they are legally done, they're legally registered. We have had discussions in the past about what can we do to better bring it to people's attention so that you moving into your complex, you know about that. We haven't found an answer to that I've heard of, but at least that's a little background for you. Councillor Day.
Yeah, I have a question of the speaker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please, have a seat.
And again, as Mayor Brody mentioned, this has happened time and time again, and I have another question of staff afterwards. So when you bought your property, you obviously did a title search, and when you did your title search, there was no mention of the easement. Is that correct?
To my understanding, no. It might have been there, but might have been overlooked. It's certainly not something that as buyers we actively watch out for
It
or
would
was
be on
advised
title.
of. Yeah.
Yeah, so just a question of staff, because this is not the first time this has happened, and what we discovered is that the title for the individual townhouse is separate from the title.
If this is a question of staff, we'll
Okay,
finish
sorry.
with this
Thank you.
delegate.
Thank you, sir.
Just a minute. Is this for the delegate?
Yes.
Okay, we got one more question.
Thanks very much.
Just a minute.
Yeah, thanks very much for coming. I believe you have a good developer and a very compassionate developer, so things are moving on. Have you approached the developer since then and had some preliminary talks?
We are actively working on an agreement that covers what happens during construction. The developer has been very reasonable in our requests, and we're hopeful that we'll have an agreement.
And it'll be supported by the whole Strata Council? For the most part, a majority, I guess.
Our plan is to put the agreement to a vote when we have the next AGM meeting within Strata.
Okay, best wishes.
All right, thank you very much. Councillor Day, you had a question?
Yeah, I do, of staff. So this has happened before, and after digging deeper into it, what I discovered was that the title for the townhouse is separate from the title for the strata. And so the easement is registered on the title for the strata, and most lawyers and real estate agents don't check the two. But what I previously asked staff is, would it be possible for us to, I know we have no jurisdiction over BC assessment, but would there be a way for us to request that the title be registered not only on the property for the strata, but on the individual townhouses?
Through your worship to Councillor Day, typically in these types of situations, we are currently registering these access agreements through a statutory right-of-way request. When the statutory right-of-way is registered on the property at the time of rezoning, when the property is further subdivided by way of a strata title application, those rights do cascade down to the individual units, so that would show up on their title. In addition, we've taken additional design measures through many of our recent applications to ensure that appropriate signage, and it's clearly demarked both in terms of signage at the end of the drive aisles as well as the design of the roadway, signals the clear intent that these driveways would be extended in the future so that we hopefully do not run into these types of situations in the future.
So when did we start doing that? Because I remember that we've had quite a few of these slightly older townhouse complexes where they just simply didn't know. When did we start registering on individual townhouse titles?
Through your worship to Councillor Day, certainly before my time with the city. So it has been our common practice, I would say, for at least the last 10, 15 years in terms of ensuring that the appropriate legal mechanism is registered on both the common and individual property title.
Good, as it should be. Thank you.
All right, is there anybody else who wishes to speak to us? Yes, sir, come forward. All right, introduce yourself, sir.
Hello, yeah, can you hear me? Okay. Hi, good evening, Mayor, good evening, Councillor, good evening, City staff. I am a tenant in 9533 Granville Avenue, 23, so pretty much Sam's neighbor. My name is Alvin. I think that would be enough to introduce myself. I guess before I have my question, I would like to respond to, is that okay if I respond to that gentleman's response regarding to the strata or the, okay, I'll just quickly, briefly.
Whatever remarks you want to make.
Okay,
is
so
what
the
you
remark
wanna
would be, I bought my place roughly about 10 years ago. Obviously, I try to do my diligence, and I'm not a lawyer, but I try to read through everything in terms of, AGM notes and the land title and all that stuff. But I wasn't. It come to a shocker when we were told that, you have an easement obligation that you have to do that easement agreement. Again, surprise, surprise. So I think there is quite a bit of room for improvement. If the gentleman mentioned that the last 10, 15 years has seen improvement, I think there will be, it still needs to improve a lot. The bar is pretty low, I would say, no offense. So that's the quick remark I want to make. Second would be, I'm not sure, do anyone have the diagram or the actual design of the new townhouses that decided supposed to be on that land, that parcel of land. And I'm not sure is that a general practice nowadays, because obviously, land is very precious and very resourceful and all that. But of course, at the best interest of the land buyer and the developer, obviously they try to squeeze every ounce and every square inches and every square volume to make the townhouses. But if you ever have see the it's not the blueprint, but like the actual construction site with the 3 row of townhouses in that very rectangular, very narrow piece of land. And first, I wonder, what is the living standard now? Because obviously it's very, very small. It's even, it just make my imagination, it really redefine my imagination of how small a place could be. Second would be how narrow is that I can, from the look of it, you can probably just having 2 hands stretching each other and can touch the wall to each other. So I'm not sure is that the new standard of quality of life, but also how, how they, for example, if they drive, how could they maneuver to the garage, and of course I can't see right now, but when I look at the actual road map, they probably have to do a 2 or 3 point turn before they can get into the house for the new tenants. So I'm not sure would that be a long for the foreseeable future for City of Richmond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. That's it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wanting to speak to us tonight on this item on the agenda?
Move second, third, and 1058, so.
So that's moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? Councillor Wolf.
Thank you. Thanks, Your Worship. Thanks for some members of the public to come speak to us on this item tonight. I did support this item when it was on the consent agenda back in September. I will be supporting it tonight, but I just want to provide a couple comments. I remember walking the back of this site about 14 years ago when I was a teacher at McNeil. And the trail, as you can see on some of the images here, kind of skirt around the back of the property. I find it's really a valuable contribution that this development is doing this voluntary transfer of that portion of land to the school district. I wish there was more, and here's why. I remember standing at the back of the property with the class and looking at it and saying, wow, what an environmentally friendly property. It was just rich with life fully utilized for green space, biodiversity. There was urban agriculture on site. There was chickens in the back that we would stop and observe. It just had a really neat ecological connection to it. And I know our map on page 21, it just puts a white rectangle over it. So most of us around the room don't know what's underneath it. But to have actually gone there or to do a quick search on Google, you can actually see that it's quite remarkable how much is packed onto that property. There are 22 trees, mature trees on that property, only able to save 4 with this development. And so with the remainder, typically you'd be putting that back on site. Unfortunately, this site was not ever listed under the environmental sensitive area mapping, so there's no real requirement to do that. However, the development is going to include more than the minimum for outdoor amenity space, which is something. It's not a lot, but it's you can see the image on page 62. There's that one open space there that says 90 SM square meters. And like the delegate said, it's going to be pretty tight there, that road that curves to the back half of the property there. And it's unfortunate that that open space wasn't able to be in a location to preserve any of the trees. So basically, we're losing everything except for a little bit along the edges. And just, yeah, I find some aspects of it really great and some quite unfortunate for this site. But again, we here can't dictate to get the school district to buy it, or perhaps the city could have made a consideration for it. But at the stage that it's at, we're getting, the city is getting something positive out of it. So I will support it tonight. Thanks.
Councillor Day.
Yeah, thank you. The speaker asked the question, this is really small. Is this an industry standard? But staff didn't actually answer that. Could you answer that question?
Through your worship to Councillor Day, I'd hesitate to say that it's an industry standard. I think what we see here is that the developer has provided a product that they believe is marketable in today's environment. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the thing I note is that there's only 4 units that are tandem parking. Those are really skinny. At least the ones with side-by-side parking are considerably wider. So believe it or not, this is not the worst we've seen. So thank you.
All right, we'll call the question then on the motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. All right, moved and seconded. Discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Worship. Item number 2, Richmond Official Community Plan Bylaw 9000, Amendment Bylaw 10603. Location is citywide. Applicant is City of Richmond, and the purpose is to add policy indicating Burkeville is not suitable for denser forms of residential development. First reading was on September 9th, 2024.
All right, this is a City of Richmond application. Do we want to say anything about it?
Nothing to add, Your Worship. We're happy to answer questions. These OCP bylaws are intended to make it clear that the Burkeville neighborhood is not suitable for transit-oriented development.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? Councillor Day.
Yeah, just a quick question of staff, please. So Bill 46 is the one with the higher density, but is it still subject to Bill 44, which allows 4 units per lot?
Through Your Worship to Councillor Day, yes, Burkeville has been rezoned to allow for small-scale multi-unit housing in accordance with Bill 44.
Just, thank you.
Okay, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Moved and seconded. Discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And the final item, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 3, Richmond Zoning Bylaw 8500, Amendment Bylaw 10576. Location is citywide. The application is City of Richmond, and the purpose is to amend Richmond Zoning Bylaw 8500 to update on-site bicycle parking requirements. First reading was September 23rd, 2024.
All right, again, does the city want to say anything about this?
Nothing to add, Your Worship. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so it's moved and seconded. Was there something? No. All right, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Move adoption. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We're now adjourned.